Hello, and welcome to Podgasm. My name is Marko, and today I will be talking about agendas and what my take is on agendas. The way I look at it, unfortunately, society teaches its children in other society to look up to money, power, and things of that nature. And unfortunately, those people that grow up learning that grow up with agendas that I believe are dangerous to society and teach society not to look up to positive things such as love and giving. I mean, think about it. Just look at society as a whole. Most people in society, they look up to people in business suits and fancy cars with money and power. So in essence, we're teaching society and our children to look up to greed, money, and power, and we're not even aware that we're doing it. And then in turn, a lot of people in society grow up with an agenda, and some people don't even realize that they have that agenda. And that agenda, in my eyes, and my personal opinion, is they look up to powerful people with money, and it doesn't even really matter what kind of character those people are. I mean, really think about it. Have you ever been around? You probably have been guilty of this yourself. I know I have. When you're around people and, somebody pulls up with a fancy, expensive car and a suit or whatever the case may be, you see the look and the reaction around you if you're around a group of people and the way they treat that person. And they don't even know that person. They just automatically have an agenda to look up to that person because of the money and the position of class that person holds. I mean, you see it all around you, even with racism, classism, and every other thing that society pretty much judges people on. And like I said, a lot of people don't even realize that they have that agenda, and some people do realize and they just don't care. But I believe once you kind of wake up and educate yourself and realize what you're doing is wrong, you start to look at society and people in a whole different way. You start to treat everybody equal because you know that's the right thing. Unfortunately, a lot of these elite people, these rich people, these powerful people, they have an agenda, and most of them realize that they know they have an agenda, and that is to get more money and power and to get more. They end up just being more greedy. I mean, if you really think about it, if you think about the credit card companies, you think about the banks, what do you think their agenda is? Do you think they want you to pay the credit card off in 10 days or 10 years? That's how they make their money. They make their money off the interest by keeping you in debt as a debt slave. Same thing with the Fed. That's why to many Americans or many people around the world, when you pose the question or pose the theory of them crashing the economy on purpose, they have a hard time believing it. But if you explain it to them in a different way, that's the way they make money. They don't want American citizens to be free of debt. Then they would have no control and they would make no money. They want you to be more in debt and have more control. And the best way to do that is to crash the economy. And another thing that they get out of crashing the economy is that's their way of monopolizing. Because that's their two main agendas. If you're a businessman or a banker or anything like that, you will understand that position. They sit around in meetings trying to figure out a way to do that. And probably a long time ago, they figured out a way to crash the economy. Competition is their worst enemy. So they can't buy out their competition. They just don't have the money. But if you crash the economy, the banks and the corporations end up being worth pennies on the dollar. And they buy them all up. They monopolize it. And then they crash the economy. They keep everybody in debt. Your taxes go up. You're a debt slave for many, many years to come. That's one reason why the Fed was established. And that's one of the main agendas that the banks and corporations have. And to a lot of people that are awake, that educate themselves in economics and political science, will realize this. And that's my take from what I've learned about agendas. And if you're in the inside, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, just like my co-host said, Chris Klein, everybody has an agenda. It just depends on what kind of agenda you morally want to follow. Do you want to follow the agenda of greed and power, or do you want to follow the agenda of giving and love and changing people and changing the world, the best way you know how? And so agendas are on in everybody's plate. It's just, unfortunately, the people in power and the rich people, for the most part, from what I could take and see, they have an agenda that's not good for humanity, destroying the earth, putting people in debt, making them debt slaves. If you ever get a chance to read the book or even watch part of a documentary called The Economic Hitman, it'll explain to you how corporations and governments, especially, the United States and Britain and Israel and these other powerful countries, they deliberately put these countries in debt when they know they can't pay back the money, because they want them to be in debt for longer. Just like I explained earlier about the credit card companies, the bank, they don't want you to pay off their loan quick or their credit cards quick. They want you to be a debt slave to them. They sit around behind closed doors expressing and explaining that simple fact and laughing about it. And like I said, unless you're on the inside, you will never fully understand their agenda unless you read a lot of the books and do your own research and become aware, or shall I say, partially awake or fully awake, and you will understand this. To a lot of people that are listening to this, a lot of them probably already know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, do your research, because if you don't personally think it'll help you, it will help you personally. Knowing how people think and what their agendas are, especially powerful people in governments and corporations and banks, will help you. Once you understand that, will help you protect yourself and know how to plan for a future and save your money, because these people don't care about you. Their agenda, you're not on their little notepad. They do not care about you. Their prime objective and their agenda is to make money and to keep you in debt so they can make percentages and interest off you. That's their main agenda. And their second is to kill their competition and monopolize. And that's my take for what I've learned about agendas of these people that we should be aware of. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people's forward thinking is backwards, because a lot of people have agendas that are good for society and good for the planet, but in a lot of cases they get treated like dirt. A perfect example of this, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, and I think the Occupy movement is a great movement, but I'll give you a perfect example. I had a friend email me asking me what I thought about the Occupy movement and everything about it, and I told them, well, I think I have a couple issues, but one of my issues is, I told my friend, one of my issues was, I think that there's more important things that we should be protesting. First and foremost, we should put humans above money. I told my friend that I was protesting against the war, and when the wars end, then I'll come join them on Occupy Wall Street. Because, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. They're protesting pretty much for a couple different reasons, but one main reason is, is money. People's pocketbooks are getting smaller, and I think that it's more important to protest against the killing of innocent civilians. Human beings should be before money. That's why I told my friend, when the wars are over and I protest the wars, when I'm done, then I'll come join you about the corrupt Wall Street and the corrupt bankers. But also they should be occupying the Fed and the government. That's the three entities. It's not just Wall Street. Like my co-host said, Chris Klein, everybody has an agenda. And Wall Street, unfortunately, if you really do your homework, like I said earlier, they don't care about anything. Their agenda is making money. Whether it destroys countries, foreign countries, or America, they don't care. My personal opinion is them with the government and the banks purposely crash the economy so they could buy up everything on pennies of the dollar, on the dollar. Just like Dylan Ratigan said, explained on his news show. One person that is up on the know on those kind of things, as far as economics and corruption and Wall Street and those kind of types of things. Because the American people will be paying for all those bailouts and all that gambling on Wall Streets from the banks and the stockbrokers for many, many years to come, American people and their children. And that means that we'll be debt slaves for many, many years to come. And that's what they want, because that's more money for them and more control. I'd like to also point out something that I think is very important, that personally my co-host Chris had told me that I kind of agreed with, and then I thought about it more, and I really agree with it now, that I really personally don't believe there's certain people that are just evil or certain people that are just good. I think everybody has good and evil in them, and most of it is your environment. You let it get the best of you, and you're born into that environment, and you make it your only agenda and desire to make money. It kind of fades out the morals inside you, and it helps let you forget about those who you affect. A perfect example, the original movie Wall Street, where you see how those people, they live, they don't really seem like they care about or even understand fully how they affect other people in other countries or even in America. Like I said, their main agenda is to make money. And then you got the bank's main agenda is to put you in debt, and to monopolize. And then you got the politicians that get paid off by these people. So their main agenda, most of them, is to get into politics to make money. A lot of people don't realize that, but you got a handful of politicians that are not like that. But that's my take in a short time span about agendas for the most part.